David Menzies for Rebel News here in Thornhill, Ontario. And folks, I'm standing outside a Stephen Lewis Secondary School. And as you can see behind me, a demonstration has erupted, and they've got a bit of an audience from the student body. And the issue du jour is this: just when you thought indoctrination, especially from a sexual perspective, couldn't get any worse at our public schools, well, I think we might have a new benchmark. The demonstrators are complaining about two things. One is you are not allowed to believe that there are only two genders. If you do say that or wear a shirt stating that, you're going to be sent to the principal's office. And secondly, and even more shocking, we understand that the teacher who heads up the Gay Straight Alliance Club a few weeks ago showed a film that's been described as transgender pornography. I know, it's unbelievable. Now, we have reached out to the teacher and the principal and the school board itself. So far, we haven't heard back from them, but if they do give us their side of the story, naturally we'll report that. But if these allegations are true, how in the world do you justify pornography of any kind? In any event, why don't we wade into the crowd and see what these demonstrators have to say? Well, you never know who you're going to bump into a demonstration outside of a school. And with V again, we saw her last week at a Toronto Catholic school. The focus of that protest was the age-inappropriate books getting into a Catholic school, and an activist teacher who seems to hate Catholicism except for the paycheck part of the teaching assignment. But V, you're here today for two reasons. One is, evidently, if you say that there are two...
an unmarked car right there. That's interesting.
Oh, okay. Oh, the police have been called again.
Police have been called.
Right.
Interesting. Oh, sorry.
I wonder, and what's the deal with the cops coming to a peaceful demonstration? Again, is this intimidation? The school brings in the state muscle?
Yes, they do. Yes, okay. They like to bring in the state muscle because they think it's gonna either intimidate us or censor us, and that's not gonna happen. We're staying very peaceful. We're having very constructive conversations with the kids and youth here. So yeah, it's been great. A lot of them have agreed with us that there are only two genders. I was informed that some of the staff in the school were discussing that kids and youth should be reprimanded if any of them were to talk about there being two genders. Meanwhile, we had a full crowd here. I don't know how many kids were here. Felt like the whole park here was full of all kids chanting with us that there are only two genders.
Isn't that amazing that these kids have the intellectual wherewithal not to be indoctrinated, that they believe, the ones you spoke to, that there are two genders, and they haven't been influenced to think, I don't know, what's the current number in vogue, 128 genders?
Yeah, there's going on to 100 genders at this point. Yeah.
What do you make of this situation? We understand that if you have the opinion that there's only two genders, you'll be sent to the principal's office?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm not sure why. Those are the rules set by the principal here.
Well, according to the principal, what is the correct answer? How many genders are there?
There is no correct answer. It's just if you disagree with that, and then they will send you to the office, and that's a full suspension.
Sir, I guarantee you everyone here is getting suspended because of this.
Oh, is that right? I'm sorry to do that to you.
We're all gonna have a talking.
I didn't mean to create a legion of juvenile delinquents here. And it's for saying there's only two genders. Well, that's scientifically sound, isn't it?
Yeah, it's perfectly sound.
Okay. Don't we teach science anymore at Stephen Lewis?
Oh, no, they do.
Okay. Real science or weird science?
Weird science. It's all weird science. It's nothing that's supposed to be taught here.
So, Sylvia, you are the mother of a student here.
Yes.
The focus of this demonstration, twofold. One is, I understand that if you say that there are just two genders, you're going to get a visit to the principal's office, maybe even a suspension. But isn't that scientifically sound?
You know what I say to this? I don't think that government should be co-parenting my kids to begin with. I give birth to these kids, I pay for them, I feed them. No one should have a say how I raise my kids or whatever I want to teach them, right? As long as you teach, be nice, don't steal, be good to one another, that's all that should be taught.
This is shocking. What I've heard is that there were scenes, it's been described to me, of transgender porn. And this was shown to grade 12 students. And V, we have reached out to the teacher, the principal, the school board, haven't heard a comment back, but how in the world is pornography of any kind acceptable for a high school audience?
Yeah, and it should not be. I mean, kids and youth should not be watching any kind of sexual content, especially in schools, especially. So for a teacher to sneak in a transgender video that shows nudity, and for a student who found a clip, who actually recorded a clip and got up and left with complete disturbance, got up and left that classroom, went to the office and said, "This is disgusting, I'm disturbed, what is he showing us in this class?" Where is the action on the part of the teachers and the school staff to protect the children when they know that this is going on, when he reported it to the office?
I go to the library and I see this, and you're kind of not scared to open it, but you don't want to open the books. But once you open, you will not believe what's in there. Like, it's not innocent.
Sadly, I believe it.
It is
There's
not innocent things that, never mind these kids reading it, little kids, there's no age restrictions.
We have seen books, ma'am, for an elementary school audience that even deals with topics of incest. A father in a relationship with a 7-year-old daughter. I mean, I thought that kind of material meets the benchmark of pornography if you're not of the age of majority.
Absolutely. And since when? So we're supposed to be very sensitive around the gay community, right? But what about sensitive about parents? Like, there's certain things you don't want to expose your child, right? For a very long time, at times. So who gives the government or the schools the right to show that to my kid? As I said, I don't co-parent with the government. I parent by myself.
And so we must wonder then, V, is this all about, and when I speak all, I'm talking about pornography for minors. Is the unspoken strategy here to normalize pedophilia? I mean, you even see some people saying, "Oh no, that's a very harsh word. We prefer intergenerational love. And if a minor is consensual to sex with an adult, then who are we to say otherwise?" Is that what's going on here, maybe?
Definitely, yes. I mean, this SOGI narrative starts from the age of kindergarten. From kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. And I'm even hearing of teachers that are staying with with their kids that they're teaching from very young up until grade 12. That, to me, as a mental health professional, I know that says right there blatantly grooming, sexual grooming.
And you know, V, I mean, the other perverse angle to this, I think, is that as parents, we send our children to schools. We think they're a safe place. We think they're going to be educated on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And yet we're learning that there is this whole other side of schools these days, even elementary schools, where it's more about indoctrination rather than education.
Exactly, yes. So this SOGI narrative is starting from kindergarten. So it's all in elementary schools. Whether parents know about it or not, whether they want to admit about it or not, it is happening. We have the books. I have the books right there in that bag. I've taken about 12 books out from the public libraries, which are blatantly stating that, oh, you could be transgender from a very young age.
Unbelievable and irresponsible. One last question, V. You've had discussions with some of the students here. What were the nature? Are they on side with you, or were they bringing up contrarian viewpoints?
So there have been, from what it looks like, a majority of them do agree with our stance of opposing SOGI. And then there were some that did come up to us and say, they just want to know, like, well, what does this mean? Why can't we talk about these 70 plus genders? What's wrong with that? What's wrong about talking about sexual content in school? And I was explaining to them that they're trying to bring up in health class these sexual activity scenarios, that what could happen and what would you do in that situation. So why are they fishing for this kind of information from the students? It feels like fishing to me, very much like grooming activity going on in the schools under the guise of sexual orientation and gender identity, or the LGBTQ plus inclusivity.
Well, it is refreshing to see some people standing up to, well, there's no other word for it, the perversity that is going on in many of our schools. I mean, suspending students for saying there are two genders, for allegedly presenting transgender porn or porn of any kind. It's unbelievable. And even though this was a peaceful protest, par for the course, folks, as you can see, the police have been called. That's a ghost cruiser with the York Regional Police Service. And I guess there's no crime in York Region. Murder, kidnapping, carjacking. No, there's nothing like that for that good officer to be, focused on. Rather, the biggest crime these days, well, it appears to be thought crimes. It appears to be people who think that there are no more than two genders, and that, you know what, pornography for a classroom of minors, that's offside. Yeah, those are the thought crimes. Unbelievable. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Now, folks, as an epilogue, we did indeed reach out to the York District School Board for comment. The board issued a brief statement denying all the allegations that there was any transgender pornography being displayed to minors, but did not say what exactly the content was. Protest organizer V reached out to the student who allegedly briefly recorded a few seconds of the alleged transgender porn, but the student and the parents of the student, well, they declined to share the footage with Rebel News out of fear of reprisal. We will keep an eye on this story as we hope to report what exactly was being exhibited that day and why. Well, folks, we know you love Rebel News to bring you the other side of the story. Indeed, do you see any mainstream media at so many of the events that we do cover? But we need your help. Please go to rebelfieldreports.com. That's rebelfieldreports.com. And if you can, kindly make a donation.